next step is to actually sew this up together. So this is our first time using our sewing tools. So this should be fun, I guess. I'm in the 3D window right now, and there's actually 3 different choices to sew with. I'm actually going to also, it helps me to sew in the 2D window. Actually, it's nice to go back and forth. So I'm going to go ahead and change my layout so I can see both the 3D and the 2D here. And you'll notice on the 2D, we also have 1, 2, 3, looks like 4 little sewing machines here. And then we have 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4, I guess 4 on both sides. One thing I'm gonna let you know about Chloe is that anytime you see a little white arrow next to a tool, do you see that? Like 3 white arrows, right? There's a whole bunch of white arrows. That's designed to change the tool. So like, the sewing machine underneath it is going to create stitches, and then if you want to go change them, you want to look for a sewing machine that has the white arrow. And that's like with all the tools. So here, like the buttons, you want to make a button with the button tool. And then if you're like, oh, I actually want to change the button I made, you don't use the button tool, you use the button tool with the white arrow. So that's just a good thing to know about Chloe, and I'll probably repeat that a lot. So I'm not going to use this first sewing machine because that's a like edit one. So you have to actually have stitch lines before you can change them or edit them or whatever. Okay, so then we have here, which I find that a lot of beginning students love this one. It's segment sewing. So it's really good at just sewing 2 pieces together, 2 seams that are the same length. It's really quick and easy. You just click it and you go. The one underneath it, it's free sewing. So I like this one because it gives you the power to sew like a short seam to a long seam. So remember that skirt that we were gathered in module 1? It was like super long and we sewed it to the short waistband. That's a good place to use this segment one. So you kind of have more control telling them, the computer where to sew. So like that. This last one is actually a new feature I just heard about. They just had a new release. It's auto sewing. And I watched their seminar and they're saying this is something that they are using like machine learning and things like that. And they're hoping to improve it more and more. But it's kind of amazing. It says that it'll just sew it together for you. So I think what I want to do is try this one first, and I have an inkling it might not work, which is fine. I'll hit edit and undo, and then I'll demonstrate the 2 other sewing tools, which you need to learn and need to be comfortable with. So, okay, so let's see here. I guess I will select all of it, and now I'm going to pick this auto sewing. Let's see what happens. Wouldn't that be nice if that just worked all the time? You never had to sew anything? Okay, cool. So look at it did pretty good. It looks like, now remember, all these little stitch lines are different stitches. So it looks like it's sewing the sleeve to the shirt. That's good. It looks like it's doing the side seam. It's got the back side. It's got some stuff around the neck tape. It's got a whole bunch of the back seam. I don't know if it has the underarm seam. Yep, there's the underarm seam. The only thing I'm not sure about is the neck. The neck tape, you have to sew it on the edge, so I kind of feel like maybe it didn't do that. I don't know. So I'm going to go do this 2D. So like right here, see, this is where I'm kind of confused. I'm on this edit tool. I'm going to click right here. So there's no stitch line right here on the neck tape, and this seam will actually need to be sewn to the other side. And then one other thing, I don't really know for sure if it did all the notches correctly. Let me see. Oh dear, yeah. That's probably okay. I'm not totally sure. Maybe. Okay, so you know what I'm gonna do is just manually sew this seam to the other side because it's gonna be a circle when it gets sewn. So in this case, because the seams are exactly the same length, I'm just gonna use the segment, and I could have grabbed it from either side, I guess. I'm gonna zoom in. Okay, here I go. Oops. There we are. Okay, so see how it highlights it? Now, do you notice that little bar? When I bring the cursor up, the bar is at the top. If I bring it down, the bar is at the bottom. This is kind of saying, oh, start sewing here where the bar starts, and then finish sewing where there is no bar, okay? So that's kind of important because you want your seams to start on the same end. Otherwise, also they'll be twisted. It's really easy to fix if they're twisted. You just right-click and say reverse, but it's just an important thing to know. So you can like understand quickly like why your seams are twisting. And hopefully you can just build them to not twist once you get used to it. So, I mean, I guess I'll just leave the bar at the top. I could have left the bar at the bottom. Where it really matters is where I go put my next stitch, and it needs to match. I'm panning. And maybe I should zoom out because this is a lot of panning. Fine, I'm zooming out. There we are. Okay. And here we go. So see, it kind of highlights like where the stitch should be. I have the bar at the top. So if I do the bar at the bottom, it's going to twist and be funky. So I know it should be at the top. Okay. Sometimes doing that wrong a few times is also a good way to learn. Okay, so we'll see. I'm not totally 100% confident. This is a live tutorial here. I have not practiced. Okay, let's see what's going to happen. I'm going to simulate now to see if this sewing's actually going to work. So here we go. Cool. I'm going to stop. I unsimulated. So I just noticed also the center front has not been sewn. I'm wondering if something funny is happening on the side seam. Maybe not. Maybe it just needs to be pulled out. It might be okay. Okay, cool. So actually on the center front, if you continue the instructions, we actually want to merge those together. We don't want a seam there. So how the heck would we merge these two pattern pieces together? I always like to ask you guys to see if you can figure it out before I just tell you. So anyways, I'm going to tell you. The tool is this edit pattern tool right here. Keyboard shortcut Z. This keyboard shortcut's A. And then this one's Q, and just notice that they're on the edge of your keyboard. So those are just 3 good ones to memorize. So you'll hit A, and you'll select the center front. And then how do I select, oops, you know what? I'm still in the sewing machine tool. I'm gonna hit Command Z, Command Z. So I could sew them together and leave a seam, but I actually wanna merge them together. So let me hit the letter Z so I know for sure I'm on the right tool. Okay, so I'm gonna click this seam. And you notice when I click the other one, it deselects. It is like symmetrically linked, so you do get a blue line, but I want both of them to be yellow. So how do I select 2 things at the same time? Again, if you know Illustrator, you know to hold Shift, and that works also. At least I think it does. Let's see. Actually, I might actually have to unlink it now that I'm thinking about this. Okay, maybe not. So I right-click, and then you have the option to merge, and it'll merge the 2 pattern pieces together. So let's go ahead and click that. Yeah, it worked. Okay, cool. And it leaves a line. That's called a baseline. It's just there for your reference. If you really hate it, you can delete it. Let's see. But sometimes it's just like, sort of nice to have. Like, and the way to delete, I think you have to say delete all baselines. Unlock. Oh yeah, there we go. And then apparently there's 2 of them. Delete. It doesn't matter. You're not going to see it in your drawing. But anyways. Okay, so I think I'm going to go ahead and simulate again. I'm going to right click here, just kind of, okay, it seems to be falling into place. It's good. Maybe, you know, I have my little hand tool if I think I need to pull anything. Okay. I'm going to hit the number 2. I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to unsimulate, arrow, click F. I didn't really zoom in as much as I like. There we are. Okay, it looks like we got little funny business with the neck trim happening. Looks okay on the back. It's a little bit weird on the front. Okay, so I think what I'm going to simulate, I'm going to see if I can grab it and pull it out. Okay, give it a little shake. Ah, come here. Okay. And then, you know what? I don't know what's going on with the neck trim. It definitely seems like it's a little bit too big. So I might actually examine that and just change my pattern piece. Yeah. So this is kind of an unexpected little challenge if you want to try and do that too. This pattern's from clothes, so I just kind of took it as is. But yeah, maybe we need to change the strap. So I'm going to unsimulate and let's give that a shot. So it's center front. I'm going to go to the 2D pan here. I want to look at my stitching and I want to make sure there's nothing weird with that. So here's my stitching. Okay, so I believe this is at, oh, the seam is right here at center front. Really? I'd actually like it if the seam was up here. So I wonder if that's, this is a little intermediate, so I'm not going to make you guys do it, but I would probably manually sew it so that the seam meets the shoulder line. So this is one bad thing, I guess, about the automatic sewing, right? Yeah, so, okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and play with that.